We are now reconvened into open session, and action will be taken. Can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Bobby? Here. Mr. Fishman?
Here.
Ms. Vick?
Here.
Ms. Colbert? Here. Ms. Meyer?
Here.
Ms. Hyman? Ms. Orlowski?
Here. Can everyone else seated at the table please identify themselves? Start down here.
Christine Zoss, Director of Communications and Instructional Technology. Catherine Anderson, Principal at Deerfield High School.
Luke Grant, Coordinator of Academic and Administrative Services.
Tom Krieger, Human Resources Director.
Down here, Director of Operations and Facilities.
Debbie Finn, Interim Principal at Park High School.
Tiffany Chavez, Director of Student Support Services.
Ali Mahaji, Assistant Superintendent of Finance.
Romina Isaac, Executive Secretary.
Ben Martindale, Interim Superintendent.
Wendy Aki, Interim Superintendent.
Okay. I now need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay. Well, we now get to move to the fun part of our agenda today, which is student recognition. We have several students who are going to be recognized tonight for their achievements, and we are going to start with the Deerfield High School students.
Hi everybody, Catherine Anderson, Principal at Deerfield High School. We're so proud to acknowledge our Deerfield students this evening. When we call your name, if you can please come up, and we would like to give you a little token of recognition. First, for the National Merit semifinalists for Deerfield High School, Nora Awad. Alexander Chen. Sophie Henry. Alexander Peck. Emma Rosenberg Rappin. And Daniel Shades. Next, we have our athletic state qualifiers. Grace Badley for girls golf. And Murphy Jones for girls diving. We have some other recognitions. For ISB Student Advisory Council, we have our very own representative for really the District 113 to represent us with, I believe there's 25 representatives for the entire state. Anna Ettinger. We have two students, if you are traveling in Deerfield, the AT&T building, there are some beautiful murals that are on that building. So if you go past, those are by Deerfield students. And the first to recognize is Bradley Epstein. And the other students whose mural is up on the AT&T building is Anka Sorensen. We are lucky enough to have several students who have been recognized by ILMEA, which is the Music Association for Illinois, as all-state musicians. Two of our students are not here this evening, they told me, but I will read their names so they're recognized. Adam Aronson and Annika Hooperkar. Juwan Moon is also one of the ILMEA All-State Musicians, and Megan Stancliffe. earned perfect ACT scores. Zachary Bluntz. Theodore Nye. Callie Sarah. Daniel Shade. And Brooke Wu. We're so very proud of all of our DHS students. Thank you so much for coming this evening, and we greatly appreciate all the parents for your support and all the students for your hard work and accomplishments. Now I'll be turning it over to Debbie Finn for Highland Park High School.
I'm a lot shorter than her, okay. I too am very pleased to be here. It wasn't easy getting here tonight. We had a few cancellations, but I'm thrilled that you're all here as well. We're going to start off with National Merit semifinalists as well. Natalie Abreu. Sam Dinson. Matthew Doherty. Excuse me. Shauna Gandelsman. Jacob Hirsch. Adam Coleman. Natalie Lakey. Jordan Maza. Madeline Murphy. Samuel Pinsky. Jacob Reisner. And Elliot Starkman. Our athletics state qualifiers, starting with Bradley Goldstein for boys golf. Jared Grossman, also boys golf. Monique Burrell for girls tennis. Caitlin Goldberg for girls tennis. Samara Michael for girls tennis. Jason, I'm sorry, I have to run. Paladoras. Alex Golden for girls swimming. And Abby Smith for girls swimming. We too have a lot of other recognitions for some terrific students. Gracie Dickman with a perfect ACT score. And Ariana Goldstein also with a perfect ACT score. We had 2 students that we forwarded along for the Prudential Spirit of Community Award, Sophie Draylock and Abby Zucker. Coca-Cola Scholarship Program semifinalist, Benny Cohen. We have 6 NHI Summer Leadership Program students to recognize. First is Pablo Gilbert. Next is Maria Bautista. Dana Blancas. Isabella Cruz. Kevin Cruz. Itzel Limon. And finally, our Collegiate World Series, Dario Castillo. Thank you everyone for coming out this evening. It was really a pleasure to honor you.
Before we all leave, I would like to add my congratulations to all the students and parents recognized here tonight. The students, we're so proud of your many accomplishments in academics and service to the community and academics, athletics, and we're just so proud. We know that we had to move this recognition ceremony a couple of times, and we appreciate your flexibility, but it just was an honor to hear about your accomplishments and see you here tonight, so thank you for coming out. Congratulations.
Yes, and on behalf of the board, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt Dr. Martindale, but Christine Gonzalez would really like to take a group picture of all of you, so before you go, if you could just stay for a couple more minutes, she's right over there. No, Dr. Martindale.
No, and I would like to echo what Dr. Yonke said. It's a tremendous achievement on the part of all of you, and I was going to mention it during my superintendent report, but I'll do it now. So congratulations.
And on behalf of the board, congratulations from all of us as well. Thank you all for coming.
Sure.
We are now going to move on to our Computer Science Education Week presentation.
So Deborah and Teresa, are you here? Ah, there you go. Okay.
Okay, here we go. Oh, yeah.
So I'm actually not Teresa. She's actually home tonight with her husband who had an unexpected surgery, so she won't
Okay.
be here. But I'm Elizabeth Waller, the interim academic chair. The report that gives you a brief overview of Computer Science Education Week. I just wanted to recognize both Deb and Tisa and their hard work, along with their students. They prepared wonderfully engaging activities for all the students that have a part to experience over the course of the week. So thank you to them and all the time we put into it.
Thank you very much for giving us the time. So Computer Science Education Week is normally in December, but since, can you hear me? I'm not good at this. But since we had finals early, we chose to move Computer Science Education Week the first week we returned from break. And what that encompassed was all of the math classes could choose to come into the computer science classroom, which is that really cool, at Highland Park High School, C214, really cool room. And our computer science students taught the math students what was going on in the classrooms. So the activities that happened were they built websites. So our intro to computer science students taught math students of all levels, survey to AP, how to build a website. About a 30-minute lesson. Some students taught other students how to build mobile apps. Another, our AP Computer Science A course, taught encryption to any of the math courses that came in during that period. And we then, throughout the week, started to do some artwork, and we taught them, our computer science students taught the other students how to make binary bracelets. So binary is the fundamental concept of computer science, and just ones and zeros. So they learned how to make their name in binary. And another activity that the AP Computer Science A course did was they taught a survey level class how to code in Java and make a graphic. So it was a pretty fun week all along. So we've got some slides where we were just showing pictures of, this was the intro course, and basically they just used a web-based tool called Replit. It's a professional tool, and they coded from scratch. It was a 30-minute activity. At the end, I asked students to fill out a survey of whether or not this was useful, engaging, and we it looked like about 500 students were exposed to activities in computer science that maybe they weren't ever exposed to before. So it's pretty cool. That's an intro course. And then, this is the AP Computer Science Principles course, and right now they're in a unit where they're building mobile apps with JavaScript. So the AP Computer Science Principles students, I honestly just stepped aside and let the students teach the students. And it was really awesome because by the time they were done with a 30-minute activity, the non-computer science students had built a Click app that could go on any mobile device. This was the AP Computer Science A course, and Miss Edwards, who couldn't be here tonight, she teaches this course, so I'm only going to speak briefly about this one. Her students taught all levels about the basic concept of encryption, which is how we purchase things online. Everything's encrypted. It was really cool. They did some hands-on unplugged without a computer activity, and then they also did some activities with the computer. And then the last thing that happened was all of the pre-calculus classes took our calculators. The students all own a TI CAS Inspire calculator, and we have rovers, which are robots. So every single pre-calculus class simulated a Mars mission by doing law of sines, and they did that with the TI calculators and the rovers. So the pre-calculus teachers, in addition to the computer science teachers, taught their students how to code with their calculators and these TI rover robots. And using law of sines, it was a really cool activity. I think that's it. So we asked students, like I said, there was a survey, and we asked students to fill it out at the end so I can keep my data. And many of them who had never heard about what we offer or had been exposed to computer science simply said, like, it was really cool, it was very hands-on, and some students said they had never considered computer science. They always thought that was a really hard course, but it's just applied math, and that they all seem to see that it's very approachable from survey all the way to the AP students, which was kind of my goal. My website's High School CS for All, because I just believe they all should be exposed to it. I think that's it. Okay. Okay, so 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just want to say thank you. I thought that was really an amazing thing that you did. It was interesting to see how math can be applied to computer science, and so not only do I appreciate that you did that in the classroom, but then sharing it with us, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to also extend my thanks, and especially from the idea of, learning is remembering, and, when we read, we remember 10% and 20% we see it and so on. 95% when we teach it. And the fact that we're students, we're teaching other students, made this such a powerful experience. So thank you so much.
Anyone else? Okay, the next item on our agenda is our reports. President's report. I don't have any extra things to report. I will reiterate the congratulations to all of our students, most of whom have left for all the incredible achievements. The stacks of certificates were very high, and it's just incredible what they've all accomplished, and we're very proud as the board and as the district to be able to recognize all the students for their variety of achievements. And I'm going to now turn over to the superintendent for the superintendent report.
Okay, first item is FOIA activity. On January 7th, we received a request from Deborah Roddy for information regarding employee discipline and electronic communications. We responded in a timely manner on January 22nd. On December 20th, we received a FOIA request from Daniel Tompkins for copies of electronic communications. We responded in a timely manner on January 7th. On December 17th, we received a request from Deborah Weiss for information regarding special ed and student behavior matters. We responded with voluminous records objection on December 24th. On December 10th, 2018, we received a request from Deborah Weiss for information regarding special ed programming and spending, special ed settlements, and various job descriptions. We responded in a timely manner on December 24th. A couple of other updates, one concerning the intercom. We continue to work on remedying this, and we're getting very, very close. One of the issues we still have left is some volume modification, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to rectify that. I also would like to recognize the Deerfield dance team, who recently finished second at the state. And according to the principal, that's the highest that they've ever achieved. So we'll be recognizing them at a later date. I also would like to congratulate Rob Weiler and John Fuhrer and our drivers and our maintenance staff for the outstanding job they did last week keeping these schools open, especially on Friday. We were one of the only districts around to have school on Friday, and I think that's really a testament to the job that they did. So thank you from all of us. Finally, we did have some roof leaks the last few days with the temperature spiking almost 100 degrees from 25 below zero to whatever it ended up being. I don't know. I wasn't here. I was in Louisiana all week, but I'm only reporting on what I heard. But we are remedying those leaks, and we hope to have that taken care of. That concludes my report.
Okay, time for public comments. We welcome your comments and questions and give them serious consideration. Pursuant to Board of Education Policy 2-230, please identify yourself and, if applicable, state the agenda item to which your comment is directed. Please limit the length of all comments to no more than 3 minutes per comment period. We will do our best to address your questions during the relevant agenda item discussion. For non-agenda related questions or for questions that require additional response time, we will follow up with you as well as report back at the next board meeting. Actually, I don't have the sign-in sheet. I don't know if anybody signed it. Does anybody have any public comments? Yes? Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, it's my second board meeting in a row, and this is going to continue till I solve the problem with my daughter here. My name is Elaine Horwitz. My daughter is Audrey. She is 15, going on infancy. She is, I've never seen a lesser abled student in Deerfield High School, at least at this moment in time. I don't know of anybody that has less abilities. She was born with Cornelia de Lange syndrome, caused by genetic mutation. She is profoundly delayed. She has vision where her whole learning is right here or closer. She has, so that's her vision. She has mild to moderate hearing loss. She can't chew. Everything has to be pureed or minced. She's still in diapers. Her verbal ability is essentially no expressive or receptive language, almost nothing. When she sees me, she goes, ma, 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 ma. That is about it. And she really has no fine motor skills. That will be important when I do my next 3 minutes after this. She attended Park School in Evanston for 11 years, and she did fantastic. She had great teachers. That is a public education school, only for special needs school, only for special needs kids. And last time I talked in front of the board, I gave reasons why she needs to stay at Park School. One is the building. It's meant for special needs students. There's about 60 students in there. Another is the cohort. She is definitely not the least able student in that school, and the class is put together where cohorts are matching. And the third reason was that they have in-house therapists. They have physical therapy, OT, hearing. They have all that in the school building at all times. But I have to add this time that I'm sorry to add this. The teacher, the classroom teacher at DHS is not a match for my daughter, absolutely not. She doesn't understand what my daughter needs, and she doesn't understand how she learns. I base this on my observations of this teacher, and her name is Kelsey Kuhn. I base it by asking her questions and her not elaborating. Kelsey will write me emails and she'll say, this week Audrey did science, math, and reading. That is less information than I would get if I had a typical preschool or kindergarten. And I've asked her for elaboration and she won't give it to me. I have at Park School, there's a teacher that Audrey's had for over 4 years. Her name is Jennifer. She is the Annie Sullivan, remember that name, for Helen Keller. If Helen Keller did not have Annie Sullivan, I don't know what Helen Keller's life would be. So I've got Annie Sullivan over at Park School, and I have a teacher who does not understand my child whatsoever at this school. One last thing I'm going to say this time is I have talked to the administration. I believe they can help me out here because the only person I've been talking to is Tiffany Chavez, who seems to think she knows better than I do, and I'm the mother. So I will say that 4 times this summer I left voice messages for the administration. I got 0 callbacks. I've now started to email. I'm getting 0 responses. I've actually had to call the regional office twice now because I'm getting nothing. January 11th, I left a message and I said to the superintendents, what can I do or what I need to do? What do I need to do to get my daughter back to Park School? No response. On January 16th, I re-forwarded that email and I got no response. I am so disappointed and frustrated. And if any of you guys have ever advocated for your children, I think you know how I feel. It's really not a good feeling. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Okay, seeing as there are none, we are going to move on to the approval of minutes. It is recommended that the...
No, these are okay.
Okay. It is recommended the minutes be approved as listed. Regular meeting December 17, 2018, closed session 1, December 17, 2018, and closed session 2, December 17, 2018. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please. Oh, sorry. Is there any discussion? Was there any discussion about the minutes? No? Okay. Roll call, please. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay. The next we have discussion items. The first one is 2019-20 staffing.
And that is me, and this is just an introductory discussion because the staffing is really part of the budgeting process. It's part of master scheduling. It's part of just long-range planning for the district. And so we want to just introduce this topic today and know that we will continue with this discussion when we get more information. Students are still currently signing up for classes, and but there are a couple of facts that we know, and this sort of also is a development from the class size report that we did in October or November, and looking at some of our needs at each school in terms of support staff, student services staff that provide support for students, such as counselors and psychologists and deans and social workers. And we have also a program that is growing that is really one of the best programs of its kind that I've ever seen. It's a mentoring program for new teachers that we have that is continuing to expand. So we have some needs to allocate some staffing there. But then there are some other issues. We are projecting that we'll be down about 150 students for next year combined from both schools. And in fact, by 2024, we'll be down over 400 students. We have 14 retirements this year, and there are always some other natural movement that happens as well. So we are going to come to the board with a request for staffing next year that even though our enrollment is down, we believe that we can add some staffing in some different areas than the people who are retiring and provide additional supports for our students without affecting class size because of the drop in student enrollment. So this is really just just a beginning discussion. We are right now having students sign up for classes. Will be done February 14th. We have a meeting February 15th to start the process of sectioning and really looking at the overall needs for to fill student requests for courses, and then we'll be looking. We're filling some positions from the retirements. There are positions that can't be eliminated. We need a marching band or a band director. We need a special ed department chair. There are positions that we are going ahead to fill. Some of them we are waiting to see what the staffing turns out, and we'll be waiting a little bit longer to fill those. So that really is basically it today. They're just a beginning discussion, just kind of looking at that factor of some falling enrollment and retirements, and looking at needs that we have to support students and teacher development. Yes.
You may not know the answer to this yet, but if you do, can you talk a little about the process you're going to use down into the schools to talk about needs and staffing? I know that historically there's been some concern that we are building them up. I'm talking in the school level.
At the school level, the process for building the master schedule is centered around student requests for courses. So that's what students are doing now. So and certainly there are courses, English, PE, math, where almost all students or almost every student takes those courses. And but then, so I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, but the staffing for the buildings really comes from that information of what students request to take, what courses students request to take. One of the things that I have been asking and working with both schools and the people who work on the master schedule of both schools is to try to move up the process and be done with master scheduling completely, including conflict resolution before school is out, so that our schedule is set and we're not here in July talking about adding staff or making changes in our staffing at that time. It really can be done during the school year, and people have been very willing to work on that and look at how we can do that staffing more efficiently. So I don't know which way to look here. So that really it's driven by student requests, and then because there are fewer students, I expect that we'll have fewer students in English and fewer students in math, and that there may be some opportunities to not fill some of the retirement, and then can use those spots for other positions that we identified that we need, including a dean at Highland Park, a college counselor at Highland Park, social work at Deerfield. There are various things that we looked at. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I mean, the report you gave us last time on the class side, or a couple months ago, this is so important, and so keep feeding us information. It's our learning as well, and we'll get, to get up to the national plan. So
by the March meeting, we'll have a more concrete plan, and because we'll be done with sectioning, and then I'll give you the more specific information.
Any other discussion? Thank you very much. Okay, the next item up for discussion is owner's representative.
Okay, I have a very short memo in your packet that includes my recommendation that the district hire an owner's rep to help manage really the cafeteria and PE office renovation project. And the individual would work closely with both the architect and Gilbane, contractors, and our staff to ensure successful completion. And some other things that an owner's rep could do is help the district establish project needs and guiding principles, and then making sure that the design team understands those priority needs. The owner's rep would represent building staff, administration, and the board's needs and help prioritize district needs, monitor budget development in concert with design concepts, and challenge the architect and construction manager to explore multiple solution and cost options to meet the district's needs. And I can tell you that I think both Dr. Yonke and I have used owner's reps in the past, not always, but on occasion, and those occasions they've proven very successful. And I have had this conversation with both the architects and the construction management firm and with our staff, and they are in agreement with that. So, open to questions.
Yes, I know we've gotten a lot of board members have had questions, and we've gotten some feedback from community members as well. So obviously this is just up for discussion right now. So if we need to go back and get more information or whatnot, we can always do that. So I think I'll just start. We'll just sort of go in a row here. Mr. Fishbane, I don't know if you have any comments.
Yeah, no, I've just echoing what Ben said. I think it's a great recommendation by Ben and Linda. I also have experience with it, and I think particularly in this case, looking at a $7.5 million project is as big of a project, and I've got a bit of institutional memory, but that's about as big as a project that we've undertaken. So it's just making the team better, and it's money well spent.
And I think, remember too, that assuming we take action on the cafeteria tonight, that we also, when we're working on that large project, we'll be adding the Deerfield Auditorium, and so it's likely that the total is going to be significantly more than $7 million, or 8 or 9, whatever. I think more than 10 million likely. And just was going to reiterate what Ben said. My experience with an owner's rep is that they really represent the district values in this project. And certainly that doesn't mean that the architect and the construction manager don't, but when there comes a conflict between, for instance, between cost and a certain quality that you want to achieve, the owner's rep understands what the district wants or needs in that situation. I've also found in the owner's reps that I've worked with that they have more than paid for themselves with the things that they found, efficiencies they were able to achieve, or other ways of, whether it's purchasing furniture or scheduling moves or tasks that they take over as part of the project that end up saving the district money. So.
The other thing that I would mention is that I would recommend that either this summer or next fall that you establish a facilities committee to assist you in looking at your facilities work. I know when you did the referenda, I think you had an oversight committee. We don't have that right now. But you know, districts that devote as much money as this district has and will to facility improvement, I really think that would help if you had a facility committee with a couple board reps on it.
Elaine?
Thank you for the recommendation. I think that this inspires confidence, and we had this person in place. We might have avoided some of the controversy from the previous meeting, so I appreciate that. Is there an interview process, or do you have people in mind? What would be the next step?
Well, the first step would be for the board to agree to pursuing an owner's rep. Then the next step would be to perhaps interview. And I already have had a meeting with one individual 2 weeks ago. This is an individual who has a wealth of experience doing this sort of work.
Yeah, I would point out too that this will be a part-time person that will
Yes.
work as needed. No, it's on a daily fee without benefits. It is a part-time position that might work more days in the summer, and you know, it's a defined period of time and a number of days that we would expect.
Thank you very much.
I was one of the people who asked a lot of questions. So the thing, I am, after having spoke Ben and Linda quite a bit about this, I am in favor of this now, but I would like to have you talk about why now, because since I've been on the board, we haven't used this. And again, you said this is not something necessarily that you'd be recommending all the time. So kind of what defines projects where you would recommend an owner's rep, and what defines ones where you wouldn't?
Well, for example, one of the things we're going to ask you tonight to approve are some small projects that were part of the proposal. I would not recommend using an owner's rep for those, but with the magnitude of this project that we're going to ask you to postpone for a year, which is the cafeteria redo and the athletic offices and perhaps a Deerfield Auditorium, that's a lot of money. And so for those kinds of projects, I would definitely recommend something like that. So in my eyes, it would be the size of the project.
And to me, it's also the complexity. A cafeteria with, we're moving a kitchen, taking out walls, expanding out, and then, you know, the creation of a space that is really a great space for students. I think the complexity of that, everything associated, and an auditorium is extremely complicated with lighting, sound, acoustics, seating, everything about the design and the things that are done. So I think size, certainly when you get, I expect will be at 12 million or more perhaps. That again, they're complicated spaces. It's not a gym, it's not that a gym isn't complicated, but certainly a cafeteria with a kitchen and serving areas and the auditorium are very complicated as well. Thank you.
I had asked some questions a couple of weeks ago. I want to thank Ben for taking time to talk to me about them, and I don't have anything that hasn't already been asked. Right?
Yeah, thank you. The question I had has just been covered. So.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add that it's sort of, I would also, be in favor of it, of course, after learning a little bit more and how much it would cost, and of course finding the right person and all that kind of thing. And we're obviously not voting tonight, but sort of, it's because it seems to me that one of the reasons, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're also recommending this is not just so much because of the actual dollar value of the project, but what Linda is adding here, which I know is on behalf of both of you, is the idea that the spaces that we're creating here are not only supposed to, look a certain way based on plans that are created and stay within a certain budget, but they are supposed to mirror the values of our district in connection with our strategic plan that we've worked on, especially like the cafeteria at Highland Park High School, the space that they're trying to create is going to actually change the whole way that the students come together, eat together, work together. And so I think that, to me, the idea of an owner's rep is that person is there to not just make sure that, these people show up on time and that the budget, is on time and on budget, but that the people who are doing the work are also overseeing, making sure that our values are being continuing to be represented in the project and not overlooked just to save time and money. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and I'm not faulting Perkins and Will or Gilbane. I mean, one of the things that I talked about with them is that they had to work with a lot of different people over the last 2 years, and then this year they had to work with me. And so, that being said, I think it's only right that we go forward.
Are you saying you should be thanking them? No, so I think that is kind of the way I'm looking at it too, is that the owner's rep is not just, and there's no question, and from our perspective, as the stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, making sure that the dollars are watched very carefully, but also if the intent, one of the intents of this project is to create a space that sort of looks, acts, and feels like District 113, that we need someone who actually understands that and can add that piece of it.
Projects like this need someone to see them through the whole way through, and it's a very concentrated time period when our physical plant services are already very busy getting schools ready to start and doing all the normal routine maintenance and other capital projects. And so to have someone who can really follow this project or these projects, and probably be a group of projects from start to finish and really spend the kind of time that's needed on the project, I think is really, and again, pointing out that I really believe that this what we pay this person will come back in savings.
Okay. I guess what is, from a timing perspective though, what do we need to keep in mind?
Probably next winter,
well, maybe even sooner.
Maybe in the spring to talk about the design process, and that wouldn't be much until then the actual work, and helping us through the design process, and then not working for a while and coming in when the project starts.
And another thing is you're going to have a new superintendent.
Right,
so
that's right. That's kind of where I'm going.
I think that would really assist that individual.
Okay. Anything else further? Okay. All right. The next item up for discussion is the annual renewal of the agreements regarding the receipt of developer subdivision contributions and indemnification.
Ali, do you want to speak to that?
Good evening. This is, all right, so this is just an annual thing. that we do. This is for the impact fees for unincorporated areas. We do receive impact fees for, City of Highland Park, Village, Deerfield. This is for unincorporated areas receiving the impact fees through Lake County. We have not received anything in the last 10 years, but if there is a development in those unincorporated areas, then we'll be entitled to receive those fees. So we just have to file this resolution and put this resolution in.
Any questions? No? Okay. And the next item up for discussion is the Schuler Partnership Agreement.
Yes, I was informed that annually you renew this membership with the Schuler Scholar Program, excuse me, and I would certainly recommend that you do it again for the coming school year. It's an outstanding program. I've worked in 3 other high school districts and have worked with the Schuler program in each one of those districts, and so the students at Highland Park High School are very fortunate to have this opportunity, and so we would bring this back for action and sign off on the agreement.
Okay, so we are now going to move into our action items. Yes.
Did you want to move 12E to a discussion item?
Well, yeah, so actually what I'll also 12A. I thought you wanted to.
That actually could take action after the second.
That's what I was going to, but then we have to move it down after closed session. So really, I think I'd like to recommend, actually make a motion to move item 12A to take action after we come back after closed session.
This is a review of the closed session minutes, and the board will vote on whether or not to open the minutes or not. So in case you're wondering what that actually is.
Right, and the reason why is because reason I'm making that motion is because we were supposed to have reviewed something in closed session before we got here, and because our policy committee meeting went longer than expected, we just didn't have time. So, if anybody would like to second that motion, we can move that to the end.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions? Okay, motion carries for that. I would like to actually make another motion to move the action item of 12E, the Board of Superintendent items back up to discussion items. I don't think that we are ready to vote on that yet because of all of the, we've had a lot of people have asked a lot of questions about that, and I think we're going to end up revising it a little bit anyway. So if anybody would like to second that motion, we can.
Second.
Yes. Okay. Is there anybody want to discuss that motion before we vote on it?
Thank you.
What?
Thank you for moving it.
Okay. Okay. Well, if there's no further discussion, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay. So this document was created after our board governance session back in September. It was brought to the board basically in a draft form in October, and then it was recommended, and the original draft was prepared by our ISB rep based on notes and things that she took about agreements that we as a board made at that governance session. And then it was recommended to me by our attorney that we have the board vote on it so that it's an active document that we follow. And I don't know, when we brought it back, it seemed like there was still some work to be done. One of the things that, and I actually discussed this with Ben and Linda. I don't know if we've got a new superintendent, presumably that is going to start next year, and we will also have new board members as we are in an election year, and it may or may not make sense to try to, doctor this up and rush this into action. I think we should discuss it, and I'm opening discussion up for what everybody else wants to do. But one of the things I also talked to Ben and Linda about today was getting the next board governance session on the calendar right now, because as we all know, it's very difficult to get the calendar of the ISB reps is actually harder than ours. And getting that scheduled now, and then making sure that all of the candidates who are running in the election are made aware of that date, so that everybody will be informed and that we'll be ready to go with our new superintendent and the newly seated board, hopefully in May or June, to, either, we can move forward with this in the next couple of board meetings or whatever, so that we have something in place, or we can kind of just keep discussing it and then tweak it and finalize it with the new board and new superintendent. So that's kind of where all this is coming from, and then I will, I can start over on this side and see what everyone thinks.
Well, one question is, when we schedule our ISB governance session, are we able to request the same person we had?
Yes.
That's the goal.
Okay.
Yes.
Because she was fantastic.
Yeah, and
So-
just to have the continuity too, right?
Yeah.
Of
Right.
this, yeah.
Yeah, so, so I'm happy to discuss some of these points, but I think it's really kind of a valid point that we'll have some new board members, perhaps a new superintendent, and so it makes more sense to kind of, those are all pretty basic tenets of what we should be doing anyway, but to really approve them, and there'd be no harm in approving them now.
No, and I'm happy to expand on some of the ones that people were confused about. I just thought while we were at it, I remember when I first came on the board, and then we started scheduling those.
Yeah.
And sometimes it would take months between their calendar and our calendar, and to kind of be proactive about it, and then at least be able to tell everybody, hey, put this on your calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And we would most likely put it on a weekend like we've done in the past. So.
Yeah.
So are we bringing up specific issues we had questions on, or are we just talking about whether we want to postpone?
But whatever you'd like to discuss.
I'm fine with your suggestion of, having another IASB governance meeting to discuss it. I think that would be helpful.
Okay, and are you in favor of planning it now and then for after the election and after the new superintendent starts, or sometime there in between, depending, and inviting all the candidates to make sure they put it on their calendar? Okay. Stacey?
So I like these suggestions, so thank you for having thought of it, of moving forward with the ISB rep. And then just in terms of me, I had asked a specific question on the very last point of the agreement, but having said that, whether or not we discussed or approved, I feel like what we had discussed in terms of board and superintendent communication expectations specifically, I feel like we've all been doing that on both ends, and I hope the superintendents do as well. So again, the one question I had was more language about one of the things that the board does itself, so whether or not we feel a need to go forward with that is kind of up to everyone. I'm a little less concerned about it at this point than I am.
Well, if you can, you want
Right,
to
so the
say what
one
it
thing-
was so that
Right.
everybody's
Yes.
clear, so that it's fine for everybody to be clear on how everything's supposed to work. It's okay.
Right, so the way this read, and I actually read it differently last time in December we were supposed to do it, and then again I'm like, oh wait, no, it doesn't really read that way. So the question says the board president handles all communication from community members, including email communication. Board members agree to forward all individual communication to the board president, who will communicate with the superintendent when necessary and direct the community member to follow the chain of command. The intent behind all this is that the president is the spokesperson for the board, with the community, with the press, everybody else. However, when I read that at one point, I was like, well, it seems really inefficient, and it's not actually what I do. If someone had reached out to me, I would forward it to the superintendent and copy the president. I would not send it to the president and say, please forward this to the superintendent, because that seems really inefficient and ineffective. And then between the board president and the superintendent, they can figure out what communication needs to happen in addition to anything else. But that was the thing that I was kind of concerned about. I didn't know if there was the understanding that everybody is forwarding everything directly to Lizzie and then she's forwarding it on to Ben and Linda, or whether we're just copying them.
functioning as a board with our interim superintendents now, that these are nice guidelines, but I think it would be a good opportunity for the new superintendent to create this document or tweak this document or create something entirely new going forward. So for that reason, I would just sort of put it on hold.
Yeah, I agree with what was proposed. We'll try and get the same rep for continuity. We have a new superintendent, new board, and Ben and Linda have to come also to that session, so we keep the continuity. Just want to add that.
No, that's why I think it's important that you do it in either May or June.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Yeah, I think the intent of what we had been talking about, if I remember, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is the idea is for you guys not to respond directly, and even I don't necessarily respond directly, so I generally, before I respond, I go right to Ben and Linda first, and then if they're not if they shouldn't respond or something, you know, the only response from a board member would be from the president, whether, you know, that, but the whole idea, what it's supposed to really say is that, and again, right, it should be efficient so that there's not 80 million emails going back and forth, but the idea being that if you get an email directly from somebody that you are redirecting it the right way so that you don't have to feel obligated to respond and then forward it around or something like that. So that was kind of the intent.
I wanted to say that I feel like these pages, the board superintendent communication expectations, the board expects and the superintendent expects, has been working really well. I really feel like it's gone very smoothly. I don't feel like I've been surprised in a meeting. I hope I haven't done that to any of you. And the communication is good, and you know, we always want to keep improving, but really that I feel like our agreements have gone well. This section with the additional agreements, I recognize that I wrote this. I think I took Rita's, because this is the font I always use, and I don't know where that last part came from. And I am thinking somebody gave it to me, that this was from a previous agreement that the board had here that was not, but I don't think this was part of our discussion that day, these last three things. And
it wasn't in her, in what she gave us after the September meeting that we had, but then it did show up in the October board packet.
I think some, and I you know, I'm trying to reconstruct how this got put together, but I think somebody had given this to me, and then I thought, well, I'll put it there, we'll discuss it, and whether you want it there or not. But I think, and the reality of it is, you see a neighbor, you have someone stopping at the grocery store and says something, and you just can't say, talk to the board president. Or,
okay, right. And that was the question I had asked.
Yes, but you don't also, and I think we did talk about that, you also don't try to solve the problem with that person right there or speak for the board or the district. And so as long as, you know, and then, you know, the board president does need to be informed, Ben and I need to be informed, and then we need to follow those processes. That needs to happen. But I don't want to put people in a position of not being able to answer their neighbors or friends.
And that was my question and concern. For email, it's easy to just forward that on. But if somebody calls you, as the situation I had in December with a community member, you know, I told them to follow. I told that person to follow the chain of command, and I let you guys, you know that. And it would have seemed inefficient and not very
personal.
Right, to say I can't even hear you out. You have to call the board president. And so that's what I wanted clarification on, is how we were supposed to handle a phone call or bumping into someone in the produce section at Jewel, you know, and they want to tell something. As long as we're doing what we're supposed to do, which is instructing them to follow the chain of command.
And then notify.
It seems like the most efficient way, and it's a way of, you know, us listening to people in the community.
And then, of course, which you did in that particular instance, was to let Lizzie and Ben and I know, and so that we knew it was coming or we could respond. So, yeah, so if we want to, I don't know, leave it this way until the next meeting, and but with that, I don't know, is that clear enough or not?
Well, I think what we sounds like we do have consensus on is to get the next session scheduled.
Yes.
And I think we just,
And revisit it with the new superintendent
Yeah, you can.
and the new board members.
yeah, I mean, I think what we're supposed to do, we keep this on as discussion on until it moves to action. So it doesn't mean we have to discuss it every time.
Okay.
But it needs to stay on the agenda until it's
Fair enough.
resolved. It just, you know, we can just sort of keep sort of addressing it as pending, but that's the proper
Yeah.
way to handle it, process-wise. Okay? Okay. Now I'm out of order. All right, now we're on B, which is really A of action items. Capital projects. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the capital projects, including DHS Stormline, DHS Track, DHS Tennis Courts, DHS and HPHS Baseball backstops and field screening, and DHS and HPHS windows as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion?
Yes, I'm sure. I'll jump in. Just wanted- I know we all did.
You're looking at Stacy.
Well, I'm not sure if it's in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, I'll go.
Yeah.
And I know that we all had a lot of conversation about this, very complex. Part of the prior discussion, this is complex. This is a very complex. And so I want to thank Ben and Linda for their time on this. I want to recognize and turn my thanks to all the folks back here who worked on all these projects, the facilities committee and their oversight, all of that. I'm doing this as glass half full. All that work is high value work. That's not going anywhere as it relates to the cafeteria project. That's still done, and that's still going to be a basis for it. The other exciting news is all these things we are approving. These are important projects. They're all part of the things that need to be done for these high schools. I think they're really high value projects. You know, I know there might be some disappointment waiting a year for the cafeteria, but as again, the prior conversation, this is complex. It's big in scope. It's got to get done right. It's infrastructure, so it's not a do-over. You know, it's really worth the time to really get more input. And also really like your comments last meeting, us learning a little bit more about the programming behind it. There may be some new eyes and some new things. I'm confident it may end up costing us more, but it's going to be a better project. So.
Now, one of the things that I would remind the board is that we are having to rebid the general trades portion of a window installation, and we will be bringing that back for your approval, I believe, on February 19th to award the bids for that, because they were embedded in the general bid for the cafeteria work, and we were advised to rebid that.
Any other?
I'd like to just suggest that maybe at an upcoming meeting, maybe before a meeting, we could go to Island Park High School and have someone walk us through the cafeteria area and what the proposed renovations look like, since it would be easier, I know, for me to visualize all of them.
Yeah, I don't know if we can do that at the February 19th meeting, but
No, not necessarily.
yeah, I mean, certainly before the end of the year, we can do that.
And everybody, the memo explains what we're not going forward with versus
Right.
what we are. For those of you who are. Okay, so, seeing if there's no further discussion, a roll call, please.
Ms. Vick.
Aye.
Ms. Colbert.
Aye.
Ms. Meyer.
Aye.
Ms. Hyman. Ms. Lobby. Aye. Mr. Fishman.
Aye.
Ms. Malowski.
Aye, motion carries. Okay. We are now, there is now recommended that the Board of Education reject all bid packages for the Highland Park High School cafeteria and PE office renovations, also incorporated basically from the memo. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion, or Dr. Martin, would you like to
No, and
add
this
anything further?
This just follows up on the item you took action on prior to this.
Yes, does anybody else want to say anything? Anybody on this? Yes, I think that this is a wise decision that we are holding off on this as well. Yeah?
I guess, just want to say, So I'm kind of echoing what Ken said. So thanking Ben and Linda, who spent a lot of time talking to us about it, and then our staff and actually our partners in terms of doing this. I know a lot of time has been spent and there's a lot of communication. It sounds like there needs to be even more communication going forward, but so I did want to thank everybody.
Yes, and
involved
especially,
today. We're going to build on what we've done so far.
yes, and especially for your patients, especially over at Highland Park, 'cause I know they're very excited about this project and just want to make sure that it gets done right. Okay, seeing as there is no further discussion, roll call, please.
Ms. Colbert?
Aye.
Ms. Meyer?
Aye.
Ms. Albee? Aye. Mr. Fishman?
Aye.
Ms. Beck? Aye. Ms. Gillespie?
Aye. Motion carries. It is now recommended that the Board of Education approve the settlement agreement for student 219-3219 as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing as there's no further discussion, a roll call, please.
Ms. Meyer?
Aye.
Ms. Albee? Aye. Mr. Fishman?
Aye.
Ms. Beck?
Aye.
Ms. Colbert? Aye. Ms. Gillespie?
Aye, motion carries. It is now recommended that the consent agenda be approved as listed. Oh, no? What, did I miss something?
No.
No, we just, I didn't just voted on
We're
it.
not doing that?
No, we did that. Yes, D, we did that.
Settlement agreement, that's what you just did.
We just did that. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, man, you're away from me.
I thought you was trying to get that to work then. Okay, says the person who was late. Okay, so the consent agenda. It is recommended the consent agenda be approved as listed. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? And Stacy, thank you so much. At the very last minute, she agreed to provide a report on the bills. Our bill reporting and approval schedule is slightly off due to the frozen tundra and switching of the board meeting schedule. So thank you, Stacy, for jumping in at the last minute.
Thank you to Ali, who graciously met me here earlier this evening to go over some of the bills, and it was interesting to learn some of the things we've been looking at, such as allergies in the schools. But everything was in order and supported and demonstrated all the necessary due diligence, so we're good.
Is there any further discussion on the consent agenda or Stacy's report on the bills?
I have a few questions for Stacy.
Yeah. Okay, seeing as there's no further discussion, the roll call, please.
Ms. Albee? Aye. Mr. Fishman?
Aye.
Ms. Beck?
Aye.
Ms. Colbert? Aye. Ms. Meyer?
Aye.
Ms. Gillespie?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, we will now move to our next public comment period. Are there any public comments? Mr. Lavin?
Thank you, Jerry Lavin, President of the District's Education Association, which represents the approximately 320 licensed certified staff in the district, as well as virtually all of the department chairs at both schools. I respectfully and with all humility ask community members not to identify in public by name a staff member with whom a community member may have a disagreement or a grievance. I understand that someone can be so profoundly frustrated, upset, maybe even angry at a situation, but to identify someone by name in public without their having an opportunity to respond in public when this is not even the proper forum to do so, I would argue is manifestly unfair. So on behalf of the people that I represent, I, with respect and humility, please ask community members not to identify in public by name a staff member with whom a community member may have a problem, a disagreement, or a grievance. I would also respectfully remind the Board of Education of Board Policy 2-230, the last provision that addresses proper decorum at board meetings, including by community members and those who speak at this podium. There are no rights that are absolute, including speech rights. So I would ask the board to be mindful of 2-230. Thank you.
Mr. Levin, do you have any more public comments?
Hi, my name is Greg Camarino. I'm with Security Unlimited. We were the contractor that was hired to install the intercom system, paging system. And we sent out an email, didn't know if anybody had any comments or concerns. We understand that the board has been given a lot of incorrect information, and I was here tonight to answer any questions if needed. So feel free if you want to respond with an email. If you don't have any questions, we're here to answer anything. You can always reach us. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Heineman?
Good evening, I'm Rick Heineman. What I'd like to do is recommend that the district institute something that happened during the construction project several years ago, which is to identify and discuss in some level of detail projects that are capital projects are going to be taking place in the school. When the cafeteria project, for example, came up, I was surprised, pleased, but surprised that it was going to happen because I didn't see anything on the district's website about it until I saw it as an agenda item. And yes, there was some pretty good detail in the information was presented on the agenda, but I think that we need to be way more transparent with capital projects, especially large ones. So if we could put on the website a listing of capital projects, some general information about them, perhaps if appropriate, the costs, in advance, the estimated costs, and after the fact, what the bid was for, and then status as time goes on. I think that this is something that the community would be very happy about getting, even if they don't really look at it very often, because it's a symbol of transparency. I feel that we had some really good transparency in the early part of the last decade, and we had some issues in the last couple of years. And everybody here is doing everything they can to make everything right and to change towards a better path. But I think this is something that would be a good thing to be on the list of things you want to do. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I don't prefer to be here. I really don't. I'm actually a very nice person, but you don't mess with my kid. And there is only one classroom teacher for special ed in the school, so if you know who the classroom teacher is, you know who I'm talking about. I'll avoid using her name, but she is the classroom teacher. I saw her class the last day of school in June. I was brought with a NSSED person to see it. The lights were off. There were 3 or 4 boys in the front of the class. Lights were off. There were 2 kids in the back of the class with AIDS. They were jumping and screaming and yelling out of their seats. I said to the NSSED person, my daughter can't be in this room. The lights are off. She can hardly see, and there's kids screaming. And the NSSED person said, we can instruct her back here, which is an empty room in the back. That would be called pull-out. That is antiquated, and I don't want my child pulled out in an empty classroom. So that was the first day I saw this teacher teaching, and what I saw was teaching like high school kids with a teacher in front, had a screen on the wall like this. That's not how my daughter learns. Believe me, she's like a 5-month-old child. So then I go to observe her on January 7th. The teacher knew I was coming. She was well aware I was coming. And she's also had my kid in class multiple days since October. What I saw was that I had 40 minutes. The first 20 minutes was she was feeding herself snack. So there goes half of my observation. I watched her eat her pudding. Second 20 minutes, the teacher announces it's reading time. She stands up in the front of the class, 10 feet away from my daughter, and starts reading out of, it looked like pieces of paper or something about a duck. My daughter didn't even know that teacher was in the classroom, and I said to the co-chair of special ed, I said, the teacher might as well be in China right now, and what my daughter was doing was this. Pretty much for 20 minutes, and then close to the end of 20 minutes, my daughter shoved everything off her desk. And I said to the co-chair of special ed, my daughter is PO'd. That co-chair promised that he would talk to the student support service person and get back to me. He never got back to me, so a few days later, I wrote him an email and he wrote back to me that the point person is this person over here. And in fact, that is the only person that I'm ever able to communicate with. I don't think that's fair. There was a meeting about my daughter last week, and I mentioned to the teacher, I said, is my daughter ever pulled out? And she said, no. I said, is my daughter ever in class when the lights are turned off? She said, yeah, sometimes the lights are dimmed. And I said something that's so obvious. I go, you know, my daughter's legally blind anyway. What good is it when you turn off the lights? So there a therapist says, oh, well, we can bring a light over.
Ms. Horowitz, I'm really sorry, but your time is up.
Somebody help me, okay?
Do we have any other public comment? I will echo what Mr. Levin said regarding our policy 2-230. We do have to be reminded of proper decorum during our public comment. It is now recommended that, oh, excuse me, now of our future agenda items. Does anybody have anything that they want to
just because the workshop meeting was canceled, so I didn't know if you plan on rescheduling that or what we're doing.
No, we need to reschedule.
I think we're working on that. Oh. Future agenda items? No? Okay. It's now recommended that the board move into closed session to consider information regarding the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the findings shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting. Placement of individual students in special education programs and other matters relating to individual students. Discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed under this act, whether for purposes of approval by the body of the minutes or semi-annual review of the minutes as mandated by section 2.065 ILCS 120/2C21. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Fishman?
Aye.
Ms. Beck? Aye. Ms. Colbert? Aye. Ms. Meyer?
Aye.
Ms. Lovey? Aye. Mr. Lubsky?
Aye. Motion carries. We can take a 5-minute break and meet in back to J108 at 8:30.